Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SF Live. I'm your host, Myrna. Tonight we have a very special show. It's election season. Comes November, we will have new leadership in the City Hall in San Francisco. Of course, everybody should know we have a mayor's race, a very competitive, confusing race going on. We also are going to be electing the next district attorney. And last but not the least, we have a new sheriff. Literally, a new sheriff will be in town. The sheriff for the last 30 years, Sheriff Hennessy, has decided he's had enough, or San Francisco has given him enough, and vice versa. And so anyway, we will have a new sheriff in town. And tonight we have one of the candidates, a captain in the sheriff's department. Captain Paul Miyamoto. He's been in the sheriff's department for 15 years. He rose from the rank, starting as a deputy sheriff. And in the sheriff's department, he met his wife. And from there, the story goes, they have 5 beautiful children, triplet, mind you, 3 years old. So anyway, welcome, Paul, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you very much for having me tonight, Myrna.
Talking about the triplets,
yes.
Sort of throw me in disarray there. That's a lot of work.
Yes, it is. That story comes up a lot, too.
Oh, my God. They're beautiful, too. It's incredible. Here, let's see if we can show that to the audience. Oops, okay. No, not that one. There you go. How about that?
That's them right there. There's 5, 9, 7.
5 kids.
Yes, and the triplets are 3 now. So the 3 are 3 years old.
My niece just had a baby, and she's like 20 years old. Her 3rd kid.
Oh, okay. So she has 3.
Right, and just thinking about it, it's just so exhausting. But
well, that speaks to my efficiency, having 3 at the same time. So
they're beautiful.
The economy.
Gorgeous, gorgeous family. Gorgeous.
Thank you very much.
All right, great. So now let's talk about you. Okay, so here is a time when we have an actual sheriff running for the job.
Yes.
You've been promoted 4 times by Sheriff Hennessy, and you've taken on leadership positions in so many different ways within the sheriff's department. You're actively involved in the community. So give us a flavor of that. A lot of people, when people ask, okay, what does a sheriff do? Like with me, it's like, okay, there's Clint Eastwood in the Wild Wild West. Most people think about it like that, the imagery, right? So here we are, a real live sheriff captain in the department to talk about it.
Well, let me just start by saying the sheriff's department is one of the best kept secrets in the city and county of San Francisco.
Right.
We have over 881 deputies in the department. Deputy sheriffs who do the job that we are tasked with doing.
Okay.
Both by city charter and by our obligation as a public safety agency.
Right.
We have over 100 civilian staff as well that provide services, that provide the support to get our job done. So we have close to 1,000 employees in our department doing the job every day. And we're basically involved in the criminal justice system and in public safety in areas that you don't normally see, or most people don't normally see.
Right.
Most people don't want to go to jail, and that's exactly where we are.
Exactly.
Most people don't want to go to court, and that's exactly where we are. We're responsible for the safety and security of all the jails, of the criminal courts, the civil courts, the juvenile courts as well.
Okay.
We're also involved in the civil process, so evictions, which is another area where people don't want to be involved.
You're the bearer of bad news.
Exactly. Well, we try our best to be compassionate when we do our job, which is very important. And that's something I'll touch on later about how we do our job.
All right.
We're also involved in those areas by city charter. That's our mandated duties. We also have contracted with agencies such as the Department of Public Health to provide police patrol services to the hospitals, to the clinics. So you'll see us out there if you have to go to SF General, Laguna Honda, any of the clinics in the city. We have a presence there as well. And we're responsible for public safety in those areas.
Right.
And lastly, where you probably will see us are at celebrations or special events. We work very closely with the police department to provide mutual aid response in situations that are either planned or spontaneous, where you need a law enforcement presence. And we've been doing that for a number of years. That's when you actually see us in a positive way, such as the World Series or the All-Star Game, New Year's, Halloween every year. Those are the areas where you'll see deputy sheriffs performing the job.
That's great. So basically, let's see, there's 800 sheriffs plus how many civilians?
Over 100, well over 100
civilians. And then how many management?
Altogether, those would be the numbers. And the civilians play a vital role. They don't just provide support services. They also are involved in a lot of our programs and services that we provide to the people that are incarcerated, the people that we're charged with the care and custody of. That's important because of the way that we do our job. We have what's called a rehabilitative approach, a restorative justice approach to criminal justice. It's something where we want to ensure that people, once they have been accused of committing a crime, once they come into the criminal justice system, as they go through the system, they have tools provided to them for change, so that they don't stay in the system, so that when they leave the system, they don't come back. And that's something that's very important. That's one thing that for 31 years now, going on 32, Sheriff Hennessy has been an innovative leader, a visionary leader in this area. And what's gratifying about our department and being a part of our department is that in my career, I've seen how what has been innovative for our industry is now the norm in a lot of other departments. It's very important to have a program component, to have these kind of services for people that are incarcerated, to reduce the amount of people who go out and reoffend or commit more crimes once they leave the system. We want to make sure that that happens because we don't want people coming back to us. We want people out there in the community being contributing members to the community.
So would you say that a major issue in your department would be the recidivism, right?
Yes. I like saying reoffend because I can barely say recidivism. And it's a big word, but the bottom line is we don't want people to recommit crimes.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing, though. So they get in, and then how long generally, because it's a city-county jail, how long do they stay there? Not long, right?
Actually, legislatively, up until recently, county jail, people would be sentenced to county jail. If they've been convicted of a crime, they can be sentenced to up to 1 year in county jail. Now, this doesn't include how much time they've spent in the system. So someone can be arrested at point A and go through the system, and the system can take years to go through the criminal justice system.
You mean the hearings and the courts?
Hearings, preliminary hearings, continuances, things of that nature. If you do not settle on a deal or some sort of other avenue, alternative form of resolution, and you go to trial and you're actually convicted and sentenced, you can be sentenced for up to 1 year in county jail. Now, this is all going to change with a lot of the changes in our system in the way that we do business.
Exactly.
We have realignment coming up.
Yeah, I guess that's a big thing.
And a huge component.
With the governor will be transferring a lot of the inmates to the city and county, so that becomes your problem.
Absolutely. It becomes our responsibility.
Exactly.
But as much as it can be construed as a problem, I also see it as an opportunity for us to expand what we already have in place. We have a very strong foundation. The sheriff, being the visionary leader that he was, gave us the ability to deal with this problem initially. And with the number of people coming in, it's not that they're sending prisoners back to us. What happens now is people going through the system will be sentenced to county jail for longer periods of time. So we're not getting these prisoners back into our system. What's happening is people convicted of non-serious, non-violent, non-sexual crimes will do their time in county jail. They can do longer periods of time, 2, 3 years, 4 years, which will have an impact on our operations at some point. In addition to that, their reintroduction into the community, it will be the county level responsibility to supervise the individuals who come back in on probation. Also, individuals who are under parole or under state supervision, if they violate that parole, instead of going back to state prison, if they fall under the non is what we call them, they'll be coming back and serving out their violation time in the county jails. So that's where we're going to get the spike and increase in people.
How many inmates do you have now? How many? What do you call them? Prisoners, inmates?
Inmates, prisoners. Okay. It's interchangeable.
How many?
The people that we have with us right now incarcerated, we are built. Our maximum capacity is about 2,200.
Okay.
Right now, our average daily population hovers around 1,400. We're at about 1,450. This morning, I think it was 1,450 or so.
So, like, how old are these inmates? I mean, are they?
They vary in age. Absolutely vary in age.
What do you see as the major component? Which crime prevails? Is it drugs? Is it?
Drugs is pervasive. Drug crimes are pervasive in our system.
So, yeah, right.
I think the majority.
Because they're less than 1 year, right?
It's not just the drug crimes involved, but it's also the crimes that evolve around the drug trade. The crimes of violence, weapons, things of that nature, gang culture, everything. Drugs are one of the major contributors to all these different things as well.
Now, possession of drugs is a criminal offense, right? And they could go in jail. But do you see very many of those? I mean, a lot of them are people who would be classified as ill rather than having committed.
Possession for sales is one of the crimes that we look at as more serious offense because of the nature of the crime itself.
Right.
Possession charges, possessions when people have individual possession of drugs. That's one where we identify
something like Paris Hilton.
Well, that's one where we would identify maybe providing services, providing them with rehabilitative services, providing them with programs.
Right.
We have a number of programs which have been well established in our system for a number of years.
Right.
Roads to Recovery. We have programs focused on drugs.
Right.
What's great is during my time in the department, my time in jail, during that time I've seen some of our it does, but our programs are actually very robust. They're very vibrant because what they do is they provide not just focus on one area. Now they're more inclusive. So a lot more of the programs that have come into play, they are all-purpose. So they don't just focus on drugs, rehabilitation, and recovery from substance abuse. They also focus on violence issues. They also focus on what we call 5 Keys. And actually our school, our high school we have right now is called the 5 Keys Charter School. The 5 Keys to life and what we want people to focus on in terms of pro-social behavior are recovery, education, employment, family, and community. And I think that's very important to focus on because we mentioned at the very beginning that not a lot of people know about the Sheriff's Department. But our department is an integral part of the community. And with realignment coming and the effect it's going to have on our community, I think it's very important that our department steps up and moves forward with the foundation that we have and becomes more of a part of the community. People shouldn't have to ask who the Sheriff Department is or what we do.
Exactly.
People should know what we do. And I think that's one area in my vision when I become sheriff that I'd like to see our department grow, to become more of a positive part of the community on the front end, to be out there as a positive role model, to be out there with a vibrant, engaging with the community at the front end of things, because we're very good at the back end of things. We're very good at our involvement in the criminal justice system, our involvement in trying to get people to turn their lives around when it's already too late, when they're already in the system. What I'd like to see is for us to take our abilities, our strengths and successes, and get out at the front end of things and become more of a part of the community.
Exactly. Well, you know, one of the things that talking to some people regarding policy, public policy issues would be, if you look at the entire criminal system from the time that somebody gets arrested, charged, goes through the legal process, judges, the district attorney's office, the public defender's office, or private defenders, and then to going to jail and then getting out of it, there's got to be some kind of synergy where the whole thrust, the whole public policy reasoning behind jail is to rehabilitate. But with the nature of what's really going on, it's with the recidivism rate as being either 77% or 67%, whichever number you apply, obviously it's not working. So all of these players somehow or rather have to work hand in hand to really make that happen. That, okay, you know, being in jail is rehabilitation, barring like maniacs like the Manson and all those people. I would have a different take on those. But I mean, if you're talking about county jails or less than a year type of offenses.
One thing that's interesting, just to touch on that last part you mentioned, Myrna, is that we have to deal with all levels of individuals in the county jails. Right. Although the state is focusing on the non, and nons as a group to focus our efforts on at the county level, we still have other levels of sophistication in our system that we have to deal with as deputies. Right. Something that we always have to keep in mind. To come back to what you're saying, the collaborative effort that you're looking for, I think we have a firm foundation in that as well. San Francisco, with its foresight, and our department is a part of the Reentry Council, where we actually have a collaborative effort with the groups involved. The Sheriff's Department, Police Department, DA's office, Public Defender's office, the court system, even the Department of Public Health. All of them are involved in making the decisions on how to approach this. Probation is a very key part. Adult probation has the brunt of the responsibilities when we have the people back out in the community, because they'll be responsible for supervising them. Our department, our components in that area, we have electronic monitoring, which are ankle monitors for people who are in alternative forms of incarceration, home detention. We have those areas. We have our warrant service unit who will go out and get the people who are violating the terms of their probation. We have a number of different agencies involved in this whole process. And we're all sitting at the same table dealing with these issues, which is great, which is exactly what I think you're looking for for this.
Especially for a lot of young people. I mean, you go to areas, a lot of the gang violence, the drugs. I'm sure one of your deputy sheriff was the originator or the founder of the Healing Circle, and in the Excelsior district, and there's this, mothers, sisters are all upset, crying, like killing of kids, mostly African American kids, who do not think they will survive past 18 years old. So, do a lot of these people end up in jail, or where do these people place into the kind of mix that we're talking about?
I'm glad you touched on that. You mentioned family. And the family component is one thing that's missing. That's a piece of the puzzle out in the community. And if there's a disconnect from the family values, a disconnect from that foundation for individuals, then there's the tendency to stray. And to head into a different direction, which they shouldn't be heading in. One thing that we have emphasized in our system is it's a one family concept, a transition circle. We don't just have parenting classes for the incarcerated to qualify to get to contact visits with the children. We're also working on bringing the caregivers together as part of that component, from bringing the outside in and the inside out to get people together to complete the circle. That's very important, because I think it shows that we step beyond that. And you mentioned that it was a deputy who had stepped in to do that in the Excelsior. That's another thing that's very important to see here. Deputies who live in the jails and work with the people that are incarcerated every day build relationships. Whether positive or negative, there's still relationships that can translate into the community. We have the ability, we deal with people that come in and out of our system every day.
Okay, now let's 22 minutes just go so fast. We have like 3 minutes left to talk about. Now I want to talk about your campaign. I'm very impressed with your campaign.
Thank you.
I mean, it's like, I'm on Facebook and Link and some other social medias, and I look at Facebook and it's like you are here and everywhere, and you've got all of these momentum and a lot of energy in your campaign. It's incredible. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. I think our campaign, the message that we have, experience, not politics, it ties into everything we're talking about here. We have a very robust, very vibrant support base, a foundation that we have in our campaign that we're utilizing to its full extent. We have people who support us because of our message. It's about somebody from within who is taking the reins and doing the job that they have been doing. as I mentioned, deputies have the experience.
Right.
And we all have the experience of being here and knowing what the job is.
Right.
And I think that translates and it sends a message. I have the overwhelming support from the 2 labor organizations from within our department.
That's
and
incredible.
That's created a huge base for us to work with, a
You've
volunteer
got quite
base.
a momentum there.
And I think what happens even more importantly is when we get out there to get the message out there about what we're about and about what this campaign is about, I think it resonates with the voters. I think people want to see someone who knows how to do the job actually doing the job.
Yeah,
The most important thing, Sheriff's Department is about public safety.
Right.
And public safety is not about politics. Public safety is about a very solid, very core obligation for us to take care of everybody else. And it shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't be something that...
Okay, how can people connect with your campaign?
Well, we have a variety of ways. You mentioned our social media and our presence on the internet is one way.
Right.
Obviously, we have a Facebook.
If they want to volunteer,
Facebook pages.
right?
Volunteers, we are at Miyamoto 4, the number 4, sheriff.com.
Right.
And there's many ways in which you can help. You can endorse, donate your time, donate money, everything in a traditional race, obviously. And you can also
holding signs.
Yes, absolutely. And become part of the movement that we have. Become part of this change, this positive change that we're bringing.
Right. Well, that's excellent. And your wife must be working very hard, huh?
I think sometimes she's working harder than me because she has all 5 kids with her most of the time.
But she's, she's also on Facebook, and she's like, pull me a motor for her, working really hard. That's awesome. Well, I guess here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and for Paul Miyamoto joining us tonight. And please make sure you vote. We have excellent candidates, and Paul Miyamoto, get on Facebook and Google his name, and you can get a lot
You'll find me.
Good, and you will find him, and or out in the street. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and good night.
Paul Miyamoto.